Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey. This is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter where you're going. Just want to say I did not have my microphone on to begin with, but now I do. So, welcome to the big show. This show is going to be very, very interesting. This is about the differences about the way that different places in the United States think about gun control and about the way that different affiliations think about gun control. And the reason is the Uvalde shooting really has been made a significant impact once again on the United States of America and what people think. And so it's reignited the debate about gun control in the United States of America. So I've also got the chat overlay going. So congratulations to Carolyn Greggs Ledger with the gold medal. That's right. Carolyn is back on top with the Mickey in the Middle chat Olympics. So congratulations to Carolyn. Darla Joe Stewart Bennett, the lady with four names, is coming in with a smooth silver medal. And then Logan Calcaterra, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while, Logan. So welcome back to the big show. Glad that you have won the bronze medal tonight. So make sure you tell all your friends about that. So remember to like, share, hit the notification bell. Tell all your friends that we're doing this every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central. Whenever I have the availability to do it. You know, I don't do this professionally. I just do it for fun. And I hope it's entertaining enough for enough people to watch. So let's see. So Carolyn Greggs Ledger says, no sound. I hope I've got sound right now. So what I wanted to do is I want to start off with a couple of things that I saw on the internet about what's going on in the United States of America. The first thing is our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Uvalde, Texas, once again, because the simple fact of the matter is that they have been handed a bad deal by somebody that was evil, man. They had ill intent. They shot their grandma. I mean, that's absolutely terrible, right? So then the question is, you know, how did he get the guns and where did the bullets come from and how old was he and, you know, access to this. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. But the first thing that I noticed was uh, this morning, yesterday, I saw this and it says analysis police, guns, and schools protected from lawsuits over Texas shooting. I want to show you this because it's very, very important to the conversation. Because right now it says police, guns, and schools are protected from lawsuits over the Texas shooting. And the reason I want to bring that up is when you start placing blame for things, you got to be very, very careful when you start talking about the police, you know, when you start talking about schools, when you start talking about the police. Uh, you know, it's really, really strange the way that, you know, the first thing that people start thinking about is they start thinking about suing people. And that is one of the things that I'm not sure. Look, it's absolutely tragic things that happen. And there's a lot of places in our country that want to blame everybody else. But here's the simple thing is that whenever you have somebody shooting a gun is a tool. And the people want to sue the school system uh, because they didn't protect their children. I understand that. Here's what the deal is: when I send my kid to school, I expect somebody to protect them. And the fact of the matter is, the people down in Uvalde didn't protect the kids. But that goes back down to can you protect can you protect the kids, and whose job is it to protect the kids? Because I've talked about this often. We send our kids into a school system every single day. We expect them to be taken care of. But the problem is that if somebody wants to perpetrate some evil in that school, then all of a sudden now you have the problem of who is going to protect them in that environment. Well, if it's a gun-free zone, nobody's there to protect the kids. They didn't have a resource officer available. They didn't have anybody that was in the school that was going to be armed. Nobody expects us to have. You know, we have thousands upon thousands of schools across our country, and most of them don't have the ability to have teachers or administrators protect the children when a violent threat shows up at the school. And, you know, that's that's bad. This is going to be straight up bad. So, and then Bruce Lund says, "Good evening from sunny Alaska." Oh man, it's almost the middle of summer, so that means that Bruce should be getting almost 24 hours of sunlight up there. Don't let all the sun get you down there, Bruce. That's good. And then, hi, Sherry Clark. I'm glad to see that you're there. Carolyn says, "Okay, better about the sound, so I know that I'm coming through." All right, so let's go back to this and about the police. The Supreme Court or the federal court system has decided that police do not have an obligation to respond. And what they mean by that is that the police don't have to show up and protect you. They don't they might not have the ability to show up and protect you. I know that in Cabot, Arkansas, we have a limited number of police officers, we have a limited number of police vehicles, we have a limited number of uh, availability for the police because we have 30,000 people in our town. And if everybody calls the police at the same time, they're going to have to prioritize where they're going to go and where up. But the second thing is if you start saying that police have to respond, they're not going to have the ability to do that. You know, sometimes, people get involved in car accidents, and sometimes they're going to have to be first responders. And sometimes the police are going to have to respond to the different things that are happening in the city and different crimes, and they got to investigate everything. So the question then becomes, can the police show up and protect you every single time that you need protecting? Because once again, I'm not the first person that has said this, but when you need a cop right now, the cop is not going to show up within the next 5 seconds to protect you. So the question is can you protect yourself? That's the first thing. The second thing is, what kind of obligation do the schools have? What happens if a whole bunch of people show up to go shoot up a school? What happens if a whole bunch of people decide to descend on a school system and just do some bad things? It doesn't have to be an individual shooter. I'm of the I'm of the mindset that you have to be ready for everything. And that's why in our schools they have tornado drills. That's why they have fire drills. That's why they practice different things inside of the schools that have to do with bad weather and bad situations. I remember as a kid, we used to have to practice getting underneath our desk to protect us from a nuclear bomb. Can you believe that? Like, what is a little third grader kid desk going to do to protect you from a nuclear bomb? Well, it's not going to do anything. However, later in my life, I moved to Louisiana and we had tornadoes. So I remember having to go into the hallway when the alarm would go off. We'd have to go into the hallway, and then we'd have to sit down against the brick walls. We'd have to pull our knees up to our chest. And when told to, we had to bury our face in our knees to protect ourselves from an incoming tornado if that was required. So the question is today's modern age, we have 330 million people in the United States of America, and with 400 million guns, apparently. That's what the latest statistics say. Of those, 20 million of those guns are assault rifles. For the podcast, let me do the air quotes with the finger air quotes. There's 20 million assault-style rifles that are out there. And once again, many of these shootings that are happening in the United States of America are with handguns, semi-automatic handguns. So what is a semi-automatic handgun? A semi-automatic handgun is when you pull the trigger one time and it goes bang, and you pull the trigger another time and it goes bang. You remember the old Westerns? You remember the old Westerns with the gun belts and the pistols? That's considered a semi-automatic weapon because you pull the trigger, the gun goes bang, and it reloads. Or a revolver, the chambered rounds revolve inside of a circular holder, and it's not a magazine, it's not a clip, it is it's a little revolving thing that when you pull the trigger, it goes bang, and then it revolves one time over and gets to the next bullet. That's what a semi-automatic handgun does. The only difference is it stacks the bullets, ejects a cartridge after you fire the gun, and it loads up the next round. So the mechanism is the same for all guns made after the 1850s. And they're revolvers. And Colt is famous for making that weapon. So you pull a trigger one time, a bullet comes out. You pull it again, another bullet comes out. You pull it again. That's the same process that happens in all modern day firearms. Now, there's going to be some of you that say, well, you have the pump shotguns, and you have single shot, and then you have black powder guns. And yes, that is true. However, the simple fact of the matter is modern day home protection devices and modern day firearms are all one squeeze of the trigger, one round comes out of the barrel, and another one is quickly loaded so that you can go do that. So if all guns operate the exact same way, from a revolver to a semi-automatic handgun to an AR-15 or a semi-automatic shotgun, that means that all guns are created equal in the eyes of the beholder. The only difference is how scary are they? Are they a revolver and they only have 6 shots? Or are they semi-automatic handgun that has I've got a semi-automatic handgun that has 7 rounds. I've got one that holds 9 rounds, and I have another one that holds 15 rounds. I got my daughter has guns. One of them is a 5-shot revolver, and another one is a 9-shot 9mm handgun. Joe Biden was talking about taking away and limiting access to 9mm ammo. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that 9mm ammo is the most prolific ammo bought in the United States of America. The second thing is that the AR style weapon is the most popular long gun in the United States of America. That's why there's 20 million of them out there in circulation right now. Why is this important? Why am I telling you that? Well, because a few years ago, the Supreme Court got a case called the Heller case. Once again, they were doing the air quote. I'm going to do the comments here in just a second. Once again, the Supreme Court got a case called the Heller case. It's known as that. And what the Heller case says, I got it in my pocket. Here's what the Heller case says. The Heller, this is from Britannica.com. So this is basically a summation of what the Heller case decided. District of Columbia versus Heller. District of Columbia said that you're not allowed to have a firearm. Somebody named Heller said that they wanted one. The court case went through all the courts and ended up at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, District of Columbia versus Heller, case in which the United States Supreme Court on June 6, 2008 held 5-4 that the Second Amendment guarantees an individual right to possess firearms independent of service in a state militia and to use firearms for traditionally lawful purposes, including self-defense within the home. That means that the Supreme Court has decided in Heller that you are allowed to self-defense using a firearm. It doesn't say what type of a firearm that there is. It just says that you're allowed to use self-defense mechanisms up to and including a firearm. Why is this important? Because if somebody's going to storm your house, if somebody's going to come in and do you harm, a lot of the times they're armed. They're bringing their own gun to the fight. And as we just discussed a couple of minutes ago, the police are minutes away when an intruder or a home invader can come through your front door and come through your back door, come through a front window. We all have windows. Windows are not holding anybody out. We are not going to have brick, wood, stone, concrete block houses with no windows in them because we need windows. That means access to your house is only limited by the imagination of the intruder into your house. Heller says that you're allowed to defend yourself. And if you go on the internet, there's case after case after case after case where people have used firearms to defend their homes, defend their families, defend their properties against people who would do them ill will. So in an environment like that, if the Supreme Court says that we're allowed to have guns and we're allowed to defend ourselves, that means that if a gun is viewed as a tool, that tool can also be misused. if I have a chainsaw in my house, or if I have a hammer and I'm used it to cut down trees or nail nails and stuff like that, and I take it out on the street and I start swinging a chainsaw at people, or I start swinging a hammer at people, that means that that is not being used for the intended purpose of that tool. And as far as I'm concerned, where I'm from, weapons, firearms are tools. I live in Arkansas. I believe, I'm not sure, but we are definitely one of the most prolific per capita gun owners in the United States of America. We have more guns in the state of Arkansas per capita than anybody else in the nation. I knew that we were number one. I don't know whether we're 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 now, but I know that we're very, very close to the top. And the reason I'm telling everybody this is because we are mainly rural. We have a couple of big towns like Pine Bluff, which is a pretty big city. We have Little Rock. We have Fayetteville. Those areas might look at guns differently than I look at guns. But the simple fact of the matter is, I live in the suburbs outside of Little Rock, Arkansas, and I have guns that I use for target shooting, for hunting, for just plinking around and going out and I don't know, I use them for self-defense in the woods. If I go out in the woods, I use a bigger gun. It's usually a long gun in case I run into a bear, a cougar, a tiger, a wild boar, something that wants to do me ill will. So I got to have that because I'm in the woods a lot. But it doesn't mean that every place is created equal, like Chicago. Chicago, people are using self-defense weapons and then they're turning them on each other on a regular basis. Now, I don't know exactly what to do about that, but the simple fact of the matter is that tools used incorrectly, like cars, trucks, airplanes, can all be used as weapons against another person. And if you don't use the tool right, you're going to get bad results. So Heller says that we have the ability to defend ourselves. And the question is if we have the ability to defend ourselves with firearms, what are our politicians going to do around the country in order to make it safer for our society? And does restricting weapons and firearm use result in a more dangerous situation for the citizenry or a safer environment for our citizenry? So let's go to the comments to see what everybody thinks about what I've said so far. So let's do this. So Darla Joe says, Uvalde is relatively small town. The police and school there did their best. Of that, I am confident. Darla Joe Stewart Bennett, I believe that you are correct. The people that are down there did not want, oh, look at my hat. It's all crooked. It's all crookedy. The people down there did not want bad stuff to happen in that school. I can guarantee it. The police didn't want bad stuff to happen. The moms and dads, the kids, nobody wanted bad stuff to happen. Bruce Lund says, a 6-shooter. Exactly, the 6-shooter, the old Colt 45, the Colt 44, everything that goes through. My preferred weapon is the 38. Why? A 6-inch barrel on a 38 does somebody good, but also a snub nose can be more concealable. I'm just saying, you got to be able to, do your best stuff. Carolyn Greg Ledger says, does anyone think the shooter who shot their grandmother killed them first because the shooter couldn't face them afterwards because of being ashamed? That's a high probability. Or they just hated everybody, and their grandmother and their grandmother and their mom decided that, telling them to not go shoot up a school would result in them getting in trouble or being turned into the police. Who knows what motivates somebody to shoot their mom? I'm not really sure, but it's true. Darla Joe says, I grow weary of hearing folks talk about no one needing a semi-automatic to hunt. The Second Amendment wasn't about hunting. It was about being ready against a tyrannical government like the King of England. BB guns won't help us with tyranny. Yes, that is absolutely true, Darla Joe Stewart Bennett. The original intent of the Second Amendment, basically, I read it last night, was a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. I will restate it again. government needs an army. They need a militia. Why? Because if you're going to be free, you have to be able to defend your ability to be free. Then the second part of the Second Amendment says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed because the United States needs to have an army. We cannot guarantee that that army and that the government will not become tyrannical. And it happens over and over and over again. In the Arab Spring, in Egypt, the government turned tyrannical and the people revolted against the government. The military was on the side of the government when it first started, and they started busting up the protests. They started busting up, and the people did not have weapons to fight back, so many people got killed. Once the military figured out that the people were serious and they weren't going to stop, and that they started getting organized, the military flipped on the government and threw out the Egyptian government and sided with the people. But instead of holding free and fair elections, the government that was overthrown by the military was then taken over by the military, and they did not hold free and fair elections for the people. So the government stayed tyrannical, but just changed hands. This happens over and over and over again. It happened throughout history. It's happened in the Philippines. It happened in Cuba. It's happened in Venezuela. It's happened in many, many countries throughout the land. And if you think about the hostile takeover of countries, it happens all the time, because when the government gets tyrannical, you have to fight them back. But in the Heller case, they didn't add anything to the Second Amendment. All they said was, in addition to the Second Amendment, people were also allowed to keep and bear arms to defend themselves. That's including home use of firearms. And that is critically important. So now there's two parts. There's the first part, which is the Second Amendment against a tyrannical government is guaranteed and has to have a military, but also Heller guarantees that we have the right to defend ourselves and home protection up to including firearms. There you go. Darley also says a lock only keeps an honest person honest, doesn't help against evil. And even if that teacher, so I guess what happened in Uvalde is a teacher heard something, went outside in the hallway, and the door opened up the door, put a rock in the door, I don't know, to get a breeze. Texas is freaking hot. So, of course, you open up doors and windows in order to get a cross breeze in Texas. When something happened, the teacher went and got a phone, called 911, then kicked the rock out that was holding the door open out, and the door closed, but the door did not lock, leaving access to the building for the shooter to come in through the door. This right here is from Logan Calcaterra. School should practice active shooter drills. Okay, Logan, they do practice that. In many, many places, they do practice that. And I'm not going to go into the protocols about that, but I know that they practice that in Cabot High School. I know that they practice it in many different locations. I don't know what protocols they had in place in Uvalde, but I know that the shooter went into one room and then stayed in the one room. And then this goes back down to Bruce says, we have many retired vets who could work in the schools to help prevent these school shootings. I'm quite positive they would line up to serve. I know that I would do a couple of days a year if it would help out the school system as a veteran, somebody who was, I'm not going to brag here, right? But I shot expert in 2 weapon systems every year that I shot in the military. And I'd be more than happy to go provide my services to the school a couple days a year. And here's the thing is, it doesn't have to be limited to just 1 or 2 people. If all of the veterans and all of the former police officers and all of the citizens in the United States would volunteer 1 or 2 days to go protect schools, we'd have plenty of people to do it. It doesn't have to just be vets. It doesn't have to be just be police. You train the people, you get them to understand society, you get them to understand active shooters, you get them to do that. And then 1 or 2 days a year, you can have a different somebody set up a schedule in school and make it work. I mean, it's possible. It's a great idea, Bruce. I really like that idea. All right. So, next thing I want to talk about is suing the school, suing the police, and suing gun manufacturers. Look, we all want to protect our kids. But if I'm out on the street and something starts happening to somebody else down the street, I am personally going to respond the best way that I can. But sometimes I'm not going to be able to do anything. Sometimes I'm going to be outmatched, outwit, out firepowered. I'm not going to be able to do that. Case in a school that is a gun-free zone does not lend itself well to protecting what you got. But the people that make it a gun-free zone are not, they're trying to do the best they can, you know? And the simple fact of the matter is just because you have a gun doesn't mean you want to get out and be a hero. Doesn't mean that you want to go out and defend things. And like I said, the police don't have an obligation to protect you. They're there as a deterrent to crime, to arrest people that break the law and bring them to the district attorney so the district attorney can make a decision about whether to take them to court and throw them in prison or not. And that's one of the things that, we'll talk about in a different show. But the simple fact of the matter is that if you have a prosecutor, there's a long process before we throw somebody in jail. First of all, somebody has to break the law. Next, they have to be caught. Then they have to have the police make a decision about whether they're going to take them to jail and turn that over to the district attorney. The district attorney has to make the decision whether they're going to prosecute the case or not, and then they have to build the case. Then it has to go in front of a jury of their peers. And if the jury of peers said that they're not guilty, that means that they still didn't do it. That's the way that we do it. And we have to have those protections for our people. And those have to be very, very liberal because we have to be very, very sure that we don't illegally prosecute somebody or illegally or maliciously throw somebody in jail for shit that they didn't do. So it's a very, very long process for somebody to commit a crime, be prosecuted, be found guilty, and then be put into jail, serve their sentence, and do that. So there's a long process. It's not simple. So who do you sue for something like this? Because we know who's to blame. The shooter is to blame. It's not the gun's fault. The gun is stupid. The gun is like this pen. It's nothing. It can't do anything without a person using this utensil as a tool in order to get a result. Most of the time, I write good stuff with pens, but sometimes I'm mean with a pen. And that just means that I'm not evil, but it just means that the pen can be used to write different things. The gun can be used correctly. The gun can be used not correctly. The gun can be used legally. The gun can be used illegally, right? So, all right, what's the next thing? All right, every place is different. Oh, I want to talk about one thing. So I called my daughter today and I said, hey, you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you're in the medical field, and I know that you were in a hospital yesterday. There was a shooting in Tulsa where 4 people ended up dead, and it was in a hospital. Pray for those folks that are over in Tulsa. I'm pretty sure that hospitals are also gun-free zones, but they do have security. The simple fact of the matter is security is not always going to be standing there when security is needed. It's just a simple fact. So pray for the people that are over there. When I talked to Sydney, I said, do you know that? She goes, yeah, Dad, but, it doesn't happen very often. And if it happens when I'm there, it happens while I'm there. And I'm willing to take that risk in order to be trained medically so that I can go and save lives later. And I thought that was pretty good. So next thing is every place is different. And here's what I mean by every place is different. As I was describing myself living in Arkansas, Arkansas is a very rural state. And all of my neighbors, almost all of my neighbors have guns. And we have 30,000 people in Cabot, Arkansas. And we have virtually zero gun crime. How in the world can we have the most prolific state with per capita gun ownership and us not have? I haven't heard of any gun crimes up in Searcy or Beebe or Alston or Ward. As you get to Little Rock and you get in those urban environments, that it becomes more, there's more gun crime there. It seems like the bigger the city, the more people are mad and the more people are crazy. And I'm not saying that this is exclusive. All I'm saying is that I think that we have a different culture here than we do in larger cities. And I don't know how to solve the problem of people misusing guns. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is everybody needs to please take note that number one, the people that are down there in Uvalde, nobody wanted this to happen. The second thing is if it happens here in Cabot, it's such a rare occurrence that we know that it's eventually going to happen. We know that somebody's going to use a gun in Cabot eventually, but the number of guns that we have in Cabot is not indicative of the crime rate for guns that we could have. There are more people getting killed in car wrecks every day, but the question is when you look at the benefit of automobiles traveling at 70 miles an hour down a freeway in order to get people to and from work, the fact that we can have mass transportation or one at a time, be able to drive in our automobiles and get to work and get groceries and get our kids to school and do all the things we do with vehicles. Having those cars having those cars for good far outweighs all of the bad shit that happens with cars. I've had a lot of friends of mine die in car accidents. I've had a bunch of friends die in airplane accidents. But those tools for the good versus for the bad are definitely outweighed by the good that they do for hunting, for self-defense, for entertainment and plinking at a range, or for any other reason why somebody might like to just take guns apart and put them together. Some people might want to make guns. People might, this whole thing, hey, look here, it's a ghost gun. You made it yourself. Who cares who cares how you get a gun? Who cares if you make it yourself or whether you get it from a manufacturer? Well, if you make it yourself, the government won't know about it. Well, the government doesn't know what I have because the government's not supposed to. We don't have a gun registry. What we have is we have a background check system that's in the United States of America. That, by the way, would not prevented the Uvalde shooting or most of these shootings. And the simple fact is that people have guns and you have a background check. And then that background check, when it comes back good, is supposed to be kept in the gun store. It doesn't go to the federal government. That's just so that they know that the gun store has bought and sold arms and that they're not using them. So that if you buy a gun from a store, it's just like a registry. Because as soon as something happens, the police are going to go to the gun store where they think you bought it and they're going to go track you down by the number. So Bruce Lund says, oh, here you go. Oh, sorry. I just clicked the wrong one. This is right. Bruce says, in Alaska, everyone carries a gun, it seems. We don't have many gun crimes up here. Yeah, because it's a tool. And Bruce, once again, that's a rural environment where things are very dangerous outside. They got moose that'll kill you. They got bears that'll kill you. They got wolves that'll kill you. They got the cold that will kill you. You go out there, let's say you're going out in the Alaskan wilderness and your car breaks down. Eventually, you're going to have to eat something. So if you have a gun, you can go actually hunting and you can go kill yourself something and eat and sustain yourself while they're trying to find you out there in the woods. By the way, this happens a lot. So, yeah, you need to have guns. The federal government can't take them away from you. And then Debbie, hey Debbie, how you doing? To quote Lauren Gulp's book, American Cop, instead of signs saying gun-free zone, more appropriate sign would be multiple people in this facility are armed and will not hesitate to shoot you dead if you are a threat. That I'm going to tell you right now. Uh, I'm normally armed. I'm not trying to be badass. I'm just saying I'm old and I'm fat. And I go a lot of places. And every time that I got to leave a firearm in my car as a law abiding citizen, I'm a law abiding citizen. I don't consider myself crazy. However, if somebody watched this video right here, they might go, Spillane's a gun nut. We need to take guns away from him. No, no. I'm just a person that has decided to not have my ass beaten anymore. Or I need to be able to protect myself because I need to be able to stick around for my daughter. And, it's no good. And I like that idea that Debbie says, which is a quote from Lauren Culp's book, American Cop, that simple fact, I have to stop saying simple fact. The way that I see, here's the deal. I'll go with here's the deal. Here's the deal. If we all were issued a gun when we turned 18, we wouldn't have to worry about this because we would all be very, very polite in a society where everybody was carrying. We would all be very, very polite. And there's still going to be crazy people. But here's what the deal is, I don't know how many times that I've seen that there's a movie out there where somebody does something wrong and like 50 people around them all draw guns. And that's the simple fact that if you know that you're going to go into a situation where somebody will beat you down, beat your ass if you open up your mouth or if you do something stupid or if you do something illegal, if you know you're going to be instantaneously punished for that, oh my God, I wrote an article for a magazine a few years ago, and it was about a crime and punishment and about the severity of the punishment and the timeliness of the punishment. I will try to find that magazine and I will bring it here because although this does not apply in this particular case, it also, I will repurpose that for use in the near future. So, holy smokes, I have gone super long. I am so sorry about that. Well, anyway, I got to go. So that's it for tonight. Look, we're all different. Colorado's different than California, which is different than New York, which is different than Arkansas, which is different than Florida and Texas. But I'm asking you to please contact your legislators and tell them that guns are tools, even if it's an AR or assault style weapon. I don't believe that there's anything called an assault style. I think they're just all firearms, and it doesn't matter whether it's a revolver or whether it's a semi-automatic long gun. I believe that they're all firearms and they're all equally as dangerous. Some are more accurate than others. Some carry more bullets than others. The simple fact is that they're all dangerous, and when used improperly, it doesn't matter whether they're dangerous looking guns or whether they're just a handgun like I have in my pocket right now. It's got to be one of the things that we've got to teach our children how to respect each other, how to be kind, how to be compassionate, how to be caring. Because if we have a kinder, more compassionate, more caring world, less stuff like this will happen. So I don't know whether I'm going to address this again or not, but there you have it. So remember, Mickey in the middle, 9 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday, right here, wherever I am, right there, wherever you are. Remember to like, share, hit the notification bell. Remember, I love you. Thank you very much for your comments. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Sydney is on her way to Kansas to spend a little bit of time with her boyfriend, which is a well-deserved rest. And I just wanted to let her know and everybody else know that I really, really, really appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow night. You guys all be good. Good night, small one. I love you. See ya.